And welcome back to the OHO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs. That man over there is the wild man, Chris Wilds, and we are thankful that you decided to click on this video. Do us a big favor, hit that thumbs up button, like this thing, leave a comment section in the comment section below. Let's break this algorithm so we can get more fans just like you watching our content that we release almost daily for all of you. And listen, why? Because we love talking ball, we love talking Buckeyes, and we love talking with all of you. Chris, Joe Burrow was on a podcast. He doesn't do a lot of podcasts, but when he does, he's not afraid to answer questions, including difficult questions. And typically, one of the things I respect about Joe Burrow, other than the fact that he's an Ohio kid, and he did come and was a Buckeye for a couple years, is the fact that he's pretty honest. He's a pretty
Almost
honest
brutally
dude.
so.
Pretty honest dude. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I respect that. I've had beef with a number of Buckeye fans for a couple years who try to claim Joe Burrow as a Buckeye. Now, listen, I understand he played at Ohio State. I understand we have a slogan: once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. Is that true of Tony Alford? Just asking. Just asking.
Alfred's
Just asking.
Alfred's different though.
Is he?
Alfred, he is because he wasn't Ohio's native son.
What about Aaron Dunston? She still a Buckeye?
She was never a Buckeye.
But okay. Just checking. All right. That being said, you all know the story. Joe Burrow comes to Ohio State. He loses out to Dwayne Haskins for the starting quarterback position. He decides to leave Columbus. He goes down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, becomes a starting quarterback for Coach O. Down for LSU for 2 seasons, and then in that second season, he leads the Tigers to a 15-0 season, wins the Heisman Trophy, and wins a national championship for the Tigers. Gets drafted, I believe, first overall, if I'm not mistaken, to the Cincinnati Bengals, and the rest is history, right? Comes back to Ohio, although it's called the state of Cincinnati down there. If you ask those folks, they don't really claim Ohio. And that's all right, because Ohio really doesn't claim Cincinnati either. It's more the tri-state, but I get it. So Joe Burrow is asked on this podcast his views of Ohio State fans. So let me play this video for you, Chris. We have audio of the question and answer from the podcast that he was on, and I want your take on this, because I just feel it's time to put this thing to rest, man. It's just time to put it to rest.
What would you say to Ohio State fans that try to claim you?
I didn't play football there. I mean, I practiced football there. But
did a lot of practicing.
I did a lot of practicing and lifting.
You graduated?
I graduated. I would say, I usually tell people that I went to school at Ohio State and I played football at LSU.
That's good. I like that.
I got a lot better from practicing at Ohio State, but I didn't get to play, so I don't really say that I played there.
I think that's a fair answer.
Sense. I still have relationships there that, to this day, that I care about in that building, but I didn't play there.
Yeah, LSU is your playing home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel anything when Michigan plays Ohio State?
Not as much as the LSU rivalries, I would say.
Yeah. You never lost to Michigan, right?
No, we were 3-0 when I was there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting. Very interesting.
Never lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what Ohio State fans. You can't claim Joe Burrow, but you could say we never lost.
How does that make you feel there, big guy?
Joe Burrow is absolutely right.
He's not lying.
He's not lying. He admits that he practiced at Ohio State. He admits that he was partially developed at Ohio State, but he did not play at Ohio State. And you know what? You can't blame the guy for transferring after losing out to
Haskins.
Haskins. Thank you. To Dwayne Haskins. You also can't blame the coaches for playing Dwayne Haskins. You know, you look at the season he had, that one magical season, maybe the best single season in Ohio State history, arguably.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately, as a football player, it worked out best for both of them. What happened? Does it hurt a little to hear him say that the rivalry means nothing to him?
He didn't say it meant nothing. It doesn't mean as much as the rivalry for LSU, and it shouldn't to him
Maybe it shouldn't, but as an
because he
Ohio
didn't
kid,
play in it.
But as an Ohio kid, I feel like it should still. That might bother me, I think, more than anything else, because everything else he said, Eric, was absolute truth.
Yeah.
I don't fault this guy for saying I was not a Buckeye football player. I was basically their practice squad,
Mm-hmm.
because he's telling the truth.
Joe Burrow spent more time on the practice squad and rehabbing than he did with the team.
And you know what? The rehabbing thing I think is huge, because let's face it, I don't know if Joe Burrow doesn't have the injury issues that he had. Specifically, what was it, a finger something going into that last season when they had the quarterback competition? If Joe Burrow doesn't have those injuries, I don't know that we see what Dwayne Haskins does. I think Joe Burrow gets out there and competes, and maybe just maybe, ends up being Ohio State's starting quarterback. But does that mean he's going to have the success that he had down at LSU? I mean, who knows? You can't. There's a lot of what ifs, but nobody knows the answer.
Right. And
that's why I say I think it worked out best for both.
Right, because the people who say, "Oh, he would have done it at Ohio State," would he? Jamar Chase was in a Buckeye.
No.
Okay. But Eric, we had great receivers. I understand that. But you're trying to rewrite history when you do that, and that's something that you shouldn't do. I want to put this to rest because it bothers me, and maybe it shouldn't bother me, Chris. Maybe you need to help me rethink this. It bothers me when Ohio State fans look at him and what he does in the NFL and be like, "What a great Buckeye." He's a Tiger.
Yeah.
Stop trying to steal from him who he is. That's what bothers me. You're trying to erase who he is and what he did in Baton Rouge when you claim him to be a Buckeye. That's what you're doing. It looks so selfish as a fan to do that. And I'm sick of it. Just let the kid be a Tiger. Let him be an LSU Bengal Tiger. It's who he was. Okay? Awesome. He was here for a few years. He did great stuff in Athens, Ohio. By the way, when Athens had the terrible things that happened in southeastern Ohio and he stepped up and raised all that money, like, he has more roots. Listen to me. He has more roots with his high school at Athens High School in Athens, Ohio, than he does in Columbus, Ohio at Ohio State University. That's truth.
It is.
And so you could draw a line from Athens to Columbus to LSU and then back to Cincinnati. But I'm here to tell you that stop in Columbus, Ohio, he only looks at that as like he just said, I went to school there.
Yeah.
He's not a Buckeye. He didn't say, I'm a Buckeye. He said, I went to school there.
And Eric, can I take this a step further, because you mentioned,
please,
you mentioned the fact that it's selfish. It makes the fan base look bad when we do that.
It makes us look petty.
More importantly, what it does in my mind is it disgraces the memory of Dwayne Haskins. Because you are basically saying, we should have had this guy. We shouldn't have had the guy we got. And I feel that is the ultimate slap in the face to a guy who, like I said earlier, had one of the single greatest seasons in Ohio State history.
You're literally taking away a 12-1 2018 season, record-setting season. You're taking that away from a man who's deceased, by the way. You're taking that away from him.
From all accounts, a very good man at that.
Yeah. And Why? That's a great point, Chris. That is a really, really. You know what? I think
That's
subconscious.
the part that angers me the most. I think about all that.
I think subconsciously that was probably without realizing it one of the reasons why it bothered me so much. I'm not angry at Joe Burrow for leaving.
No.
I don't blame him one bit for taking that opportunity, grabbing the bull by the horns and going out there and betting on himself and winning. He won.
And good for you. You got that national title ring. You
Right.
got that Heisman Trophy. You got that number 1 draft pick spot. And you know what? You deserved it.
Yeah. And so as a Buckeye fan, stop trying to cling on to that. That's not yours to cling on to. You don't have that right. You don't get that right to say, I'm a Joe Burrow fan and look at everything he did. Like, that's LSU fan that gets that. That's Athens, Ohio, Athens High School and Athens, Ohio people that get that. And if you're a Bengals fan like myself, like, cool. He does good work for the Bengals. He got us to a Super Bowl. I'm happy about that. I'm excited about that. But I don't sit there and then couple that with the fact that I'm also an Ohio State fan and therefore I get to say things like he was a Buckeye too. No, you don't get that. You don't get to do that. That's clingy. That's like another level of just odd. It's icky. It feels icky to me.
It does.
It's yucky.
I would say this though. He was a Buckeye, much in the same way that I was a Buckeye or you were a Buckeye as a student. Yeah, he was a Buckeye in that way.
But here's what's different.
A Buckeye football player.
But here's what's different. Where do you think his allegiance lies when it comes to college?
LSU. And it should. It should. That's where he got his opportunity.
Right.
That's where he got his wins. That's where he got his ring. That's where he won his Heisman. It should lie with LSU.
Which is why he doesn't bleed scarlet and gray. Which is why the game doesn't mean more to him than LSU Alabama or LSU Auburn or LSU Florida.
Like I say, my issue with that one there is, as an Ohio kid, it should mean something more to him than.
I mean, it means something to him.
It just seemed his comments seemed very dismissive.
And I think the reason why is because he got to live and experience what it's like to be an LSU Tiger at the highest level.
He did, and so, again, I'm happy for him for that. But at the same time, as somebody who grew up in Ohio, who grew up as an Ohio State fan, granted he went to LSU, that's where his allegiance should lie as far as his playing days, but I just felt like he was a little dismissive of the whole.
He didn't say it didn't mean anything to him. I think he just said it doesn't mean as much to him as these other rivalries.
And I would agree with you to maybe the extent that it shouldn't matter as much. Like you said, those rivalries he played in, those he was a part of, those he understands the importance of, maybe a little bit more from the player perspective.
Yeah, I got an example for you. I live in Delaware, Ohio. My stepson's going to go to Delaware Hayes High School. I had a nephew who was a star athlete for Delaware, and they have a rivalry with Big Walnut.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to participate in that rivalry because when I went to Mount Vernon, we had a big rivalry with Big Walnut.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's easy for me to dislike Big Walnut.
Sure.
However, when little Mount Vernon came to Delaware Hayes and played Delaware, in my heart, I was rooting for Mount Vernon because I'm still a Yellow Jacket because that's who I played for. That's where my allegiance lies. Okay? That is the example, best example I can give you. Joe Burrow's allegiance doesn't lie with Ohio State.
Right.
It lies with LSU, which is why that game just doesn't mean the same to him. So let's put it to rest. I can't tell you how many people commented on the article when I reported on this story. All I did was report on it, and I was basically just saying, guys, stop claiming them. And people said, without even reading the article, gosh, it's just clickbait and everything. Listen, he's the one who said it. He answered the question. We're going to talk about it. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Let's have a conversation about this. Do you agree with Chris and I? Is it time to just let this thing die out and understand that we don't get to claim him as Ohio State fans? Like he's a Tiger, and that we're doing a disservice to not only Joe but to also Dwayne Haskins and his memory when we say things like that. And we should cling on to our memories of Dwayne and quit trying to cling on to Joe's memories of being a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and winning a national championship at LSU. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the thumbs up, like this video, share it if you wouldn't mind. That would help us out as well. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, get notified when we go live. We try to go live at least twice a week, and we have videos dropping almost every single day. Chris, till next time, OH.
I-O.
Go Bucks.